First story. Mock me for not going to a strip club? Wait until your wife finds out. A bit of a backstory, but it makes the revenge even better. I've worked in software sales for the bulk of my career. About 10 years ago, my company was hosting its annual user conference in Las Vegas. As a sales guy, I pretty much had carte blanche on expenses as long as it involved clients. Expensive dinners, drinks, tables at clubs, etc. The only unbreakable rule was we couldn't pay for strippers. Having been in the industry long enough, I realized what guys would do to get around this. It was common for them to explain to a manager at a strip club, and then they would have the girls' tips added to the bottle service. Even with that in place, I never thought it was a good idea to play that game, nor did I think it was a good idea to go to a strip club with clients. It was never a good look in my mind. I was roughly 27 or 28 at the time, and one of the older guys, late 40s, Jim, was the typical sleazy sales guy. He would tell half-truths to prospects, overcharge them, oversell, etc. The type that creates a hassle for the services and implementation teams, but he still got paid, so he didn't care. And when he got to Vegas, Jim would go crazy entertaining clients and himself. Sometimes he would go to dinner by himself, but say some senior VP was with him, and he also abused the stripper loophole. One of the reasons he tried to get a group to the strip club each night was that he had a very conservative wife. She made the kids go to a local Christian school, and the family went to church every Sunday. She hated the annual trips to Vegas, to the point he would tell stories that he wasn't allowed to bring his suitcase in the house. He had to leave it in the garage where the laundry room was, and she would wash his clothes and then sanitize the washing machine. On the last night of the conference, he organized a shuttle from one of the big strip clubs to pick up a group. There were some open seats he was trying to fill to meet the minimum commitment for free entry to the club. Jim saw me speaking to a client and invited us. I declined. He started mocking me about being scared of pretty ladies, or that I would probably nut the first time one of them touched me, etc. This would have normally not bothered me, but he did it in front of my client. I stated, I don't want to go because I don't think it's professional. He left, I bought my client another round, and we joked about the dish-a-bag. Then I was on my own and decided to walk the strip a bit and head to bed early due to an early morning flight. If you've ever been to Vegas, there are people on the sidewalk handing out cards that are essentially ads for escorts. They legally can't speak to you, so they slap the cards on their hands to get your attention. After a few drinks, I started taking a few. Fast forward to the next morning when Jim and I were sitting in the airport waiting for our flight. He had stayed out to 3 or 4 a.m. and was a complete mess and totally hungover. I was 100% and enjoying his condition. At one point, he went to the bathroom and asked me to watch his bag. When he was out of sight, I added those escort cards in his bag. When his wife went to do her laundry routine when he got home, she was not happy. She didn't believe in divorce, but they were suddenly going to church 3 times a week and had a weekly counseling session with their pastor. This also led to Jim dropping out of his weekly golf league. He was telling us all the story at the office looking for sympathy, and he swore he never took those cards, but couldn't remember since he was so drunk. Now, second story. Entitled woman thinks she owns the drive-thru, throws a tantrum, and gets served by karma and the police. I'm at Chick-fil-A the other day. At this location, they have 2 drive-thru lanes, one for regular orders and one for mobile orders, where you skip the line if you use the app and scan a QR code. I always use the mobile lane because it's way faster. Well, not today. Enter entitled woman EW. She cuts me off pulling into the lot, red flag number 1. But whatever. There's no one else in mobile lane, so it's not a huge deal. I pull in behind her and immediately notice she's not holding a phone to scan a QR code like a normal person. Nope, she's sitting there, waving at the attendants. Newsflash. Nobody monitors the mobile lane, so naturally, she starts laying on the horn like a lunatic. An employee finally comes over. Before he's even at her car, She starts barking out her order. And not a short one. This woman orders like she's feeding an army. After ordering, she drives off without paying. The guy literally has to chase her down to get her payment. Then she pulls up to the window, where I'm still stuck right behind her, despite having scanned my code and being ready to grab my food in seconds. The employee at the window asks her to pull around to one of the waiting spots. She refuses, saying, "No, it always takes longer if I pull around." The employee explains, very patiently, that pulling around won't delay her order, but it will let them serve the people behind her whose food is ready. She responds, "It's not really fair to prepare their orders before mine when I was here first." The employee tries to explain how food stations work, but she interrupts, saying they should all be working on the first person's order. I know you just make minimum wage, but this really shouldn't be that hard to understand. After what feels like forever, the manager appears at the window. He leans out and very politely asks her to pull around, even promising to personally bring her food out as soon as it's ready. To top it off, he offers her a complimentary peppermint shake as an apology for the inconvenience. And what does she do? She knocks the shake out of his hand. It goes flying everywhere on him, inside the window. Total chaos. She even has the nerve to beep her horn at him. Finally, karma starts to take hold. A couple minutes later, 2 police officers walk around the front of the drive-thru road, coming towards her. EW laughs at the manager, saying, "You really called the police?" The manager calmly responds, "No, ma'am. They were at the counter when I walked by, covered in the shake you knocked over. They also heard your shouting and honking. I told them it was fine, but they wanted to check on the situation." At this point, the officers reached her car and told her if she doesn't pull forward and talk to them, they'll arrest her for assault and move the car themselves. She finally pulls around, but doesn't stop. She just speeds out of the parking lot. The police laughed. She has a very easy to remember vanity plate, and they told the manager that they're adding obstruction of justice for failing to comply with a lawful order when they track her down. I know not all posts here have happy endings, so I figured I'd share this one for the holiday season. Now, third story. You don't own the road. This happened a few weeks ago. Some backstory is needed. My best friend, Kay, 40s, had neighbors move in next door a few years ago. Her house is right in front of the pond in her neighborhood. When her husband, Jay, met them, the husband mentioned they picked their house because he liked to watch the children. They added at the pond later, creepy. After this, anytime anyone parked on the street, the couple would come out and ask them to move so their view wasn't blocked. Even parts of the street not next to their house. More backstory. My mother was recently diagnosed with terminal cancer and had to be moved to Kay's house. I had to take a leave from work to help take care of her. We also had hospice coming out to help with her. The night before everything happened, I had to run an errand and parked in front of the mailbox when I got back. Jay reminded me I had to move the car before the mailman got there. The next morning, we had 3 different people from hospice treating my mom, and after they all left, I ran to move my car. I parked to the left of their driveway, in between the 2 houses. As I was getting out of the car, the wife comes running up to my car. "Can you please park in front of your house? We want to look at the pond." "Ma'am, I have to be somewhere in a few hours, so I won't be here long." She let out a deep sigh. "We have told your father that the only reason we bought this house was because we wanted to watch the pond. There has already been a bunch of cars blocking the view this morning. We are old, and this is all we want." I was over this, grabbed something from my back seat, and turned back to her. "I'm sorry that the people coming to help my dying mother blocked your view, but I'm not moving my car. It will be moved in a few hours." The blood quickly drained from her face. "Your mother is dying." "Yes." I turned to walk away, and she tried to apologize. I just waved her off. I went back into the house and was telling Kay what happened and realized what she had said first. She called Jay my dad. This woman couldn't tell the difference between me, 40, and my 24-year-old niece. She thought I was talking about Kay. We haven't seen her since.